a special edition.
Vacation edition.
Vacation edition, which explains why Mike is wearing a sleeveless shirt, because he forgot to bring a regular shirt.
We are all vacationing in an undisclosed bunker near you.
Yes.
This is why we closed the drapes and the blinds. You can't know where we are at. So we just thought this was a great opportunity, since we were all in the same undisclosed location, to make a video and talk about current events.
Yeah.
And maybe a little year in review.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's been a year since we saw Susan.
I know, exactly a year.
Yeah. So today is a very special day, not only because we're here with Susan, but because this is my birthday.
Pagan.
Yeah.
Pagan. We've been pagan as hell, celebrating the hell out of it.
So you're a year wiser.
Oh, maybe. So we're here, we just wanted to talk about some current events, because there's been so many things in the news over the past couple of weeks, it seems like. There's been a ton of stuff, and, we posted, obviously, to our social media, but just to sit and talk about them.
It's almost like Jehovah is speeding it up.
Yeah.
Speeding up the work.
Speeding up the newspaper headlines.
And don't we know that Satan's system, this is how they're going to persecute Jehovah's people, is through the legal systems now. So he's really ramping it up, apparently, because they're getting sued left and right.
Yeah. Of course, he was also affecting the Catholic Church quite a bit a few years ago, but
still is.
Yeah,
still affecting them. Yeah.
Satan's busy with the Catholic Church and with Jehovah's Witnesses.
True. So the court case that probably most of you have heard about is the $35 million lawsuit that was brought and won by a woman. Two women brought the lawsuit, but the one woman who was named as the complainant or victim. And so they have lost the case in the courts because of child abuse. What else is new?
The way they handle these cases,
Yeah.
Covering it up. It's just the excuses that the society tried to have. I think just sickens me. I mean, they were saying that the statute of limitations they felt had run out. I mean, I didn't have any statute of limitations when I had to go to the judicial committee of my own.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, I have a 3-day statute of limitations.
Right.
They didn't accept it.
No, they didn't accept it.
And so we didn't accept it when they tried to do this.
Right. So what happened was this man, apparently, he had molested one person that we know of from the article, and he was disfellowshipped for 14 months. It was not reported to the police, and he was reinstated and then continued to molest this other person, this other woman, who is now 21 years old. So this abuse took place over a period of,
13 years.
13 years. And, there's probably other victims,
Yeah, it's the nature of molestation.
We had to switch cameras. For some reason, our video is not keeping a charge, so it just crapped out on us. Yeah. So we're switching to my iPhone, but hopefully the quality is just as good. So what we were talking about was, how they were saying, well, it's not our responsibility to police everyone and protect everyone out in the world. And
Bowditch, Brother Bowditch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here's a B. That's that lobster face guy.
Right.
Yeah, but what he said, that really bothered me.
Right.
Yeah, it's not
it did.
our
Yeah.
We look after the congregation. Like, okay, so you're not looking after the congregation because you're not warning people within the congregation. You have to wait for a second witness before you do anything. You don't warn anyone. You would just allow this to continue for years and years and years. And then on the outside, you don't do anything either because it's not your responsibility. Wow.
It just makes me think about something we talked about last night, and it just kind of leads right with this, that how I was saying, like, Jehovah's Witnesses go out in service. Why? Because they say they love God and they love people. They're out there doing this ministry because they love people. Well, in what way do they actually love people? And this is a perfect example. They don't care for other people. They don't care about people, because you can put a dangerous predator in a neighborhood where there are families and children and not care what happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's heartless. I can't even.
It is. And it's a whole thing about and if there was a natural disaster that happened in the area, they would be concerned about where are the witnesses, but they're not concerned about the world. But again, where's your love of humanity that you claim to love so much?
They care about protecting the reputation of the organization. And at the very top, what the organization, the governing body, care about is protecting the money. And that brings us to it's one of my favorite things in the whole world. Louise Good and Laura Caput, I hope I'm saying that right, your most recent JW Community podcast where you interviewed Steve Unthank. And boy, I never knew who he was.
Oh, you had me listen to it too.
I made him listen to it too.
That's fantastic.
Because what he's been doing for over 10 years behind the scenes is brilliant. Because he's using the law, and he's learning the law and understanding the law where he lives in Victoria, Australia, to prosecute Jehovah's Witnesses and the Watchtower. And the first one was regarding child protection, and that in Victoria they have a working with children law where you have to have a card that you have to register for if you work with children. And so he used the law to go after them, because the Watchtower, they were refusing to carry this card, to register for this card.
Right, and any elder or ministerial servant would be required to get one of these cards.
So he filed, complaints with his local law enforcement agency, and they refused to do anything. And so he just sort of became a thorn in their side, to the point where he was getting threatened by the police department of being charged with obstruction of an investigation, an ongoing investigation. And he knew if he was actually interfering with an investigation that, yes, that was a criminal offense and he could go to prison. But he just knew that they weren't doing anything, that they were not investigating Jehovah's Witnesses. And come to find out, he was correct. So he
called them on it.
Yeah, he called them on it. And he was, I guess, in Victoria. I don't know what the laws are here because I'm not a lawyer and I've never studied the law. But a citizen is allowed to bring a criminal prosecution case to the court if the police, they feel that the police are doing nothing about the situation. So he was the one that brought the case to charge the Watchtower with refusing to follow the law and carry this card. And he was actually doing it to protect the elders from being prosecuted.
Well, he tried. It seemed to me like he tried to get them to follow the law before he decided to prosecute them. Like he tried to make sure that they were doing what the law required, because he saw the benefit of the law. For people working with children, you have to be qualified, you have to take X number of classes, you have to know what you're doing in the proper circumstances. And he gave them a chance.
He did. He gave them a couple of years to comply through this whole process where he was building a case. And they knew he was building a case. But anyways, it's a wonderful podcast. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can listen to it yourself. But the most fascinating part of that was how he actually got them to make a doctrinal change.
Yeah. There was a few. That was one. There was another one. I'll tell it after.
Okay.
But yeah.
The one that, just blew me away is that
he knew the real reason. It wasn't new light from Jehovah why this change happened.
Yeah. So he filed a lawsuit against the faithful and discreet slave class because they are they are, all of Jesus' belongings on earth are theirs. So they own the buildings, they own all the assets, they own all the money, and they're also responsible for the preaching work. That came last on their list of things that they own. But so because he was suing the faithful and discreet slave class, he knew a little old anointed sister that had been in his congregation, and he named her. And you'll have to listen to the podcast because he explains it definitely better than I can because he was involved with it. But then wouldn't you know that they made a doctrinal change, that there was no longer, that it was a theological arrangement, and that there was no slave class.
And it all has to do with money. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that the faithful and discreet slave class, all the little old ladies on the earth, and of course, whoever else claims to be of this class, they would own the assets of Watchtower.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's so funny when you think about it. And I don't think obviously they didn't realize that that's what this means when you own, you have Jesus' possessions. It includes the money.
Right.
So funny.
They're not exactly a group
really
of
funny.
people that like to share when it comes to stuff
No,
like
it's
that.
all about money. But somehow it came to be a new light.
Yes.
That the governing body is just, they are the only ones, right?
What was your favorite part of that?
The part about him being, okay, you'll have to help me because I heard the podcast but I was late, but it was something to do with him being called an apostate. He was also suing, one of his suits had to do with the mentally diseased.
Right.
And so it came down to the fact that if the organization felt that he was an apostate, that he could sue them for defamation of character.
Mm-hmm.
And so he actually had, I don't remember who showed up at the lawsuit. But
It was Terrence O'Brien.
Terrence O'Brien, that long-headed guy who was banished to, I forget, it wasn't Tasmania, but he was in the first Australia Royal Commission, and then we saw him again in the second.
He was the branch overseer.
He was no longer the branch overseer. Remember, he was banished to...
Right, but at the time of this lawsuit,
yes,
he was the
yes.
branch overseer.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So he was the guy.
Yeah.
And so they had him admit that Stephen was not an apostate, even though he runs the website JW Leaks and has done this for years. They had him on the stand admitting that he was not an apostate.
And that his pages were not apostate
Yes.
pages. His Facebook page was
Too
not
funny.
apostate.
Because they knew that if they said he was an apostate, then there would be some monetary development.
Right.
Apparently he said too that the defamation laws in Victoria were very strong. So he had like a lot of power there to use that. There are very, very strong laws there about defamation. So.
Well, but the thing that was so funny too, I mean, that was great when he had Terrence O'Brien on the stand and asks him, "Is Stephen Unthank an apostate?" And he says, "No, he is not." So right there, he has it in court, in writing. He is not an apostate. But then there was the whole going back and forth where they had like a Bible scholar talking about different versions of the Bible and whether mentally diseased, which was in the New World Translation, if that was a correct translation, because it's the only one that used that wording. And Stephen Unthank happened to know that they were releasing a new Bible, and he had had the digital copy for more than 4 months prior to the announcement, which happened at the annual meeting in 2013. Yeah. So he already knew, because he had the digital copy, that they had changed that wording. They had taken out mentally diseased. And so apparently before the hearing started, Terrence O'Brien is there with other witnesses. He had his brand new silver sword that nobody else had. It had just been announced, and he had it and was showing it off. And so during that proceeding, he said, basically after the Bible scholar said, this wording, the way this is translated, isn't how it's translated in any other, and it probably shouldn't be translated that way. He goes, well, the Jehovah's Witnesses actually do know that. So much so that they've had to release a new Bible, and in the new version, they have taken that wording out. So Terrence O'Brien opens up his Bible to look at it and has a very surprised look on his face. as well as the other lawyers for Watchtower, because they were like, what? We didn't know that. We didn't know that. So he surprised them. So I love that he's got someone high up on the inside leaking information to him. And what's so exciting is, even though that was 5 years ago, is that now, because he's gained all this experience on how to prosecute Jehovah's Witnesses, so the exciting thing about what he's doing is that now he's a consultant for other countries and other organizations, so that he is now speaking and giving workshops about Jehovah's Witnesses and the organization and the structure of the organization, which is very complicated. Mm-hmm. But he's been following how the money flows, so that they can avoid paying for any of these lawsuits, because they moved all of their money out of Australia. There is no Watchtower in Australia. Now they have Watchtower Britain is running as a charity inside of Australia. So that's how they get around having to pay for anything. That's why they're not going to pay for the redress scheme, for the Child Abuse Royal Commission.
Well, I sure hope there's a lot of backlash to that. Because I think October 22nd is where the government and all these organizations are supposed to publicly say they're sorry and what they plan to do. And of course, JW.org has yet to say anything.
Yeah.
They've yet to apologize, they've yet to acknowledge it, they've yet to do anything for their victims, even though they said at the Royal Commission in 2017, when they were asked point blank, surely you're not going to wait until 2018 to do something about it. And here we are in 2018, and they specifically said, no, we're not, we're dealing with it, we're just waiting, we're not going to find new victims. That Papua New Guinea is where Terence O'Brien was banished to Papua New Guinea. Okay, just remember that. So he's, no, we're not going to do that. It's all in the works, blah, blah, blah. Well, here we are, 2018, and Jack squat has been done.
Yeah, and
so let's watch for October 22nd and see what happens.
Yeah, and when you guys hear in the United States, it's like it's weird to hear the word scheme and think of a positive thing, but they call it a redress scheme in Australia, and it's not actually a scheme. It's all of these organizations putting together like a fund, like a lump sum of money, and they're all putting money into this one big pot so that people who are negatively affected by what happened to them with sexual abuse or any kind of abuse, that the payment that they would receive would come out of this one lump pot that was input from all these organizations, the YMCA and the Catholics and the Jehovah's Witnesses, well, although they're not doing it. But that's the thing. So when I had to, like, hearing the word scheme, it sounds a little weird to Americans.
Like it's not, me too in Canada. It's the same. It's like, it's sort of like not right, except illegal almost.
But that's what they're doing in Australia. It's a legit way to collect money from all of these organizations to help make restitution to people that are affected.
Right.
So.
But the organization is really tricky, like what you were saying before about how they've moved the money. It's the same way that Garrett Loesch, when he was asked if he answers to Watchtower, if you remember that a few years ago, when they were trying to get him to come to that $13 million lawsuit that happened in San Diego, and he refused to come, and so they just sent him a subpoena, or not a subpoena, affidavit. They had him an affidavit, and he was supposed to sign this, and he signs it and says, I do not answer to Watchtower, I have nothing to do with Watchtower, blah, blah, blah.
I'm not employed by Watchtower, I've never been employed by Watchtower.
The fact is that because of the way they've set themselves up legally, with all these subsidiaries and all, there's this reporting to that, and who does it? That's what makes it so tricky. That's why it's so handy that Stephen Unthink is helping people to figure out where the money goes and just how this corrupt organization has now set themselves up so that they can be sued. Because when they have actually wronged people, and they certainly have, they should be accountable.
And you have to have the correct wording for a lawsuit to go forward. And that's what he's been so brilliant at figuring out, what is the correct wording? Because it sounded like from that podcast that he was actually instrumental in making sure the Jehovah's Witnesses were included in the Child Abuse Royal Commission investigation into institutional responses. So, it wasn't, we're saying you caused the problem, but how do you respond to the problems. So he was instrumental. It sounds like, in getting them included and getting the victims to come forward with their stories.
I was just going to say, I think it's interesting because the Jehovah's Witnesses say so often that we're no part of the world. They are sure taking advantage of every loophole and law and every kind of rule that they can bend, any kind of defense they can build for themselves legally is what they're doing. And they are...
to get out of it.
Super manipulating the law. They're doing what they're allowed to do. But it's manipulating.
What about paying back Caesar's things to Caesar? What about your responsibility?
And what about you will be brought before courts to defend my name? They run away like little. I'm not gonna say what they run away.
Little boys.
Well, even to the point where Garrett Loesch basically denied being a Jehovah's Witness. And denied being a part of the governing body. Jeffrey Jackson denied having any role in the organization, and he's a governing body member.
He's just a translator.
He's like, I don't know
translator.
I don't know what the rest of these guys do.
They play dumb, and it's the theocratic warfare. That they call it, and that's what people like Stephen Unthank are doing, where they're learning the tactics of their theocratic warfare and exposing it to government authorities and police authorities and different things. So now it's like it has set precedent in other countries of how to prosecute their criminal activity, which it is criminal activity.
Yeah, you're harboring criminals. You're hiding criminals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the same as what the Catholic Church does. Mm-hmm. You can say it's not, but it's exactly the same. They'll send a brother to a new congregation. The letter that goes with him to the congregation will not have any of the details of the reason why he's being moved. Elders in congregations have been bamboozled by other elders from other congregations shipping them a person who's bad, who's wicked, who's a molester, and they don't even know. But they find out, and they don't do anything about it, and they ship them on too. So everybody's guilty.
But the thing that struck me when I listened to that podcast was, it's like I said to you, when I woke up, my waking up more had to do with not believing that the Bible was the inspired word of God, challenging all of that, challenging the creation story, the Noah story. But I thought that the organization itself was, I felt like it was run by people with the best of intentions. I felt like it was, the people in it are good people. The people, the governing body thought that they were doing the right thing and always tried to do the right thing. They had the highest moral standing.
Yeah, I think we all thought that.
Yeah, and I still thought that, even though I was awake and realized it wasn't the truth. But now I realize how devious they are and how wicked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that I want them prosecuted.
They don't apply their own rules. It's like there's articles that actually say that if you, as a Jehovah's Witness, have wronged your neighbor or wronged a fellow witness or wronged the elders or whoever you've wronged, you need to make amends. That if you don't make amends, then you're worse than a sinner of the world. That you need to, and there's a proper way of doing it, right? But they don't follow this themselves. They have wronged people. Do they ever say they're sorry for the lives they've messed up, for the lies they've told, for the false prophecies and the wrong, just everything's wrong. Basically everything they've said has been wrong from the very beginning, generations and this and that. I mean, have they ever apologized? No.
No, they deny responsibility and they blame people for misunderstanding what they said.
Yeah, and they blame it on, and they actually have said it's false apostate lies, right? Apostate-driven lies. But we know this isn't true. Jeffrey Jackson even admitted that because he was asked point blank at the Royal Commission, is it apostate-driven lies? And he said, no, it actually happens, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And yet, that's only when they're forced in a court of law, when they have no choice, they're backed into a corner.
Right.
But then they will walk away from that very court case and say the opposite to their people
Because
in magazines.
So many people didn't hear him say the one thing. They only hear him say
because
the one
they're
version.
told not to go on the internet, not to research,
Right.
not to listen, because it's all apostate.
Yeah.
Even if it's the governing body member himself, it's somehow apostate.
If you've got nothing to hide, then you should have nothing to fear. This is the bottom line. But then that's where they drag the spirit world into it, because of course Satan is out to get you through all these different means. So, and that's what makes it all spooky and scary. That's why people are so terrified to read anything other than what Watchtower prints. But they believe every word the organization says, as I did when I was a member. I believed it lock, stock, and barrel. Every word that they uttered, I believed and loved.
That just reminds me, it's something I wanted to talk about from before. With all the literature that they have in the Bible and this and that, they're always doing new things. Did you ever wonder about their translating work? How is their stuff getting translated? None of them know how to translate or speak like ancient Greek or ancient, And I just remember in one of the most recent JW broadcastings, there was a woman who was a missionary. Her and her husband were sent to, I don't know, someplace. And she was actually asked to translate one of the brochures into the native tongue. Now, she didn't speak the native tongue.
Okay.
But she did the translation for the brochure. They asked her to.
And how did she figure it out?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
That's the thing. It said that in one of the JW broadcastings. And I'm thinking, who's doing these translations? Because I guess you just get a native speaker who speaks two languages. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like everything that they translate, especially when it comes to the Bible, they're relying on other people's words because they are not qualified they don't speak ancient Greek. They don't speak Aramaic. They don't speak, they don't have any knowledge or any skills or any degrees or any background in any kind of this ancient languages of the Bible. So it's like, how are they using other translate? I don't know. It's just, they've obviously relied on other translations to get their translating work done, which is, the Johannes Grieber, the old Bible, that was the New World Translation was used to translate. But they don't have the capability to do any of that themselves. They don't have the knowledge.
That's why it was anonymous. Remember they said this because they didn't want any recognition. They didn't want anyone to go, any glory. They kept saying they didn't want any glory.
Right.
So they kept it all anonymous. But the truth of the matter is that now you can't see what do they have any education? Do they know what they're doing? All we have is unlettered men. We don't know who they are, what their qualifications are, if they even speak the language.
Right. And it just made me think when I saw that in the JW broadcasting, I was like, this lady says she doesn't speak the language and she accepted the assignment. How?
Wow.
I could only think that I would feel horribly underqualified. Mike, you need to translate this into German.
Do you speak German?
No.
I'll do it.
How do you agree to that? How do you say you're good? I don't understand. How do you agree to do that? How conceited are you to think that God's going to let you, I don't understand. I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, all I know is, can we move on to Pornea now? Pillow gates. We have to discuss pillow.
One of the more uncomfortable videos I've ever seen in my life.
It is cringe-worthy. Were you cringing? I'm like,
Oh my God.
What?
Welcome to Bethel.
welcome to Bethel.
People are, I'm sure, totally pumped. Well, excited.
We've shown you your room. Check. We've shown you where the laundry is. Yes, we've shown you how to do this, that, what's your work assignment. Now we're going to talk about your masturbation schedule.
When two men, they gave them every scenario under the sun. They could just sort of, we get it, okay? Pornea is the touching of somebody else's organs. And don't touch your own either, okay? That sums it all up. But no, he had to talk about if two brothers are jacking off and one's doing his own and he is doing his own. Is that pornea? No, I learned that. No, it's not.
I was surprised by what wasn't pornea and...
That was, okay, I guess so I needed to
But
do
all
that.
of the situations, it was just like,
Wow.
one, two, do we really need that many scenarios to figure out what's pornea and what's not? And obviously these things have happened at
Right.
Bethel
Yeah.
if they're using them as examples.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like the brother giving the talk just decided, well,
Let me think about that.
So I'm naked in the room. My penis is out.
I'm ejaculating.
Yeah.
The words, I mean, what the heck? Oh, God.
If
he starts rubbing your shoulders,
he sits on your lap.
he sits on your lap.
Here's the thing that I noticed from that talk. Any of the instances that he's talking about of brother on brother sexual stuff, it's all just gay stuff. And so if you're gay, that's fine, you're gay. But it seems to me like you would never have two heterosexual people in a room and be like, man, I'm really horny. Well, there's a dude there. Like, it, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so obviously they have...
We're not quite, no.
Well there goes the phone. I guess what I'm saying is...
You knocked the phone over.
No,
We got pretty animated there.
that it's obvious that there are gay men in Bethel.
Right.
Yeah.
And that...
A lot.
Right.
A lot.
And so, you know, it's like there's definitely a theme going on here in this talk. Mm-hmm. That there's a lot of gay sex going on at Bethel. Or a lot of the experiences that he's talking about are gay experiences. Yeah. So, and I don't have a problem with gay people. Just saying, that's what's going on. And for them to not acknowledge that part of it at all, like these are... Of course they're heterosexual because they're Jehovah's Witnesses and they're at Bethel. They couldn't be gay because they're Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's almost like a denial of reality. Like there are gay people in Bethel. There are gay people in the organization. Gay people make up about 10% of the population. So it's foolish to think that there wouldn't be gay people there, but they don't acknowledge it.
No, exactly.
It's almost like... Well, we understand you heterosexual brothers can get really excited. No, there's they're not acknowledging what the reality of the situation is.
Yeah, I never thought of that. It's true. Because they would never. Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine them saying that, you know, brother Franz thing, what's his name?
Fred Franz?
Fred. But, I mean, was he gay? I don't know if he was gay or not, but
There's
just all signs point to yes. You know?
Well,
I mean...
What was it in Syria or Iraq or Iran? One of those countries, one of the leader, I don't know if it was Assad or somebody was like, there are no homosexuals in this country. That's what they would say. Because they're so offended by it because of their religion that they say there are no and obviously that's not true.
Of course.
But the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, yeah, but you're right. They would never admit that. That's another thing they won't admit.
Right.
But the whole talk is describing gay sex acts. And they don't even acknowledge that.
And all the different scenarios.
All the different...
So many scenarios.
So many! And then the women's... I didn't time it, but I know that the talk that was to the women was maybe half the length as the one towards the men talking about this. And the whole thing with sleeping with a pillow between your legs, you know, and you start grinding on that pillow. Is that masturbation?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Don't do it. So crazy.
I honestly never, if you would have said to me, Mike, there's going to be a talk from Bethel about all this masturbation, I would say, no, come on. Really? Come on.
I know.
I would have never believed it. Not to the extent that this video goes.
No.
It was shocking.
It goes above and beyond.
Oh. Boy, does it ever.
Yeah, it was shocking. And then that kind of leads to the whole naked kidnapping. We have to get to this too.
This comes from your country. Yeah. These are people from here. What were they drinking? Some kind of...
was though, a tea?
A tea, a psilocybin tea.
Some mushroom tea or something?
Oh, it was mushroom tea.
Yeah. And it was a mother and her 3 daughters, was it?
Yeah, there was like 5
There
women.
was 5 of them. And they got holed
I
up.
didn't know it was all women when I heard the original
It was all
story.
naked women. Yeah, 5 naked women.
They got holed up in their house drinking some psychedelic tea for days. They did not leave the house until the moment came when they realized in their minds that the Great Tribulation had begun and they needed to rescue their neighbors who were Jehovah's Witnesses. There was not time to dress. There was not time for anything except to get in the car, crash through the garage door.
That's the part that's the part that threw me over the edge.
We don't have time to raise the garage door. Just right straight through.
They grabbed what? A man?
A man, his daughter, and her
baby.
newborn baby.
Threw them into the car. They threw the guy in the trunk, I heard.
Made him say Jehovah 10 times.
Yeah, chanting.
And they were chanting Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah in the car.
All naked. Speeding.
Until they wrecked. And
the guy got out, I heard. The guy in the trunk
he did manage
escaped.
to
And then
get
the woman and the baby escaped. They got into another car, and then this first car rammed them. And that's what I understood.
all the details, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody did see them because it was middle of the winter.
Yeah.
And, out.
It draws attention
When you're naked
in the snow.
In the snow.
November and,
right.
Yeah, it's cold there.
Yeah, so they've been charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. And it's
just so weird.
Very bizarre story. What is happening?
Yeah, it's not the kind of story I would have imagined hearing. No, I was surprised by that one too.
I mean, we're laughing. It's also sad though. There's also a kind of a what the heck? Like what? You feel bad for them on one hand, but you also think you can't. I mean, it was worded so funny, and the news stories, everything about it was just so crazy.
Well,
so off the top.
We're witnessing the meltdown of the entire organization, bit by bit by bit, car group by car group. It's like that's what's happening. That whole car group. Yeah, that whole car group is gone, man.
We're going to preach to the nudist colony, and Paul said, when in Rome.
And he goes, to the nudists, I became as a nudist, so I may gain more nudists. Sounds like a plan.
Oh my goodness.
It didn't work.
I think that what we're seeing, though, is as they get closer to the end, people are getting more wound up, the organization's getting more wound up, things are getting crazier.
And we're talking about the end of the organization, not the end of the system.
Well, what they believe is the end of the system. Obviously, I don't believe the system is going to end like that. But I just feel like as we get closer and as they make more extreme announcements and as they have more extreme beliefs, you're going to start seeing more and more extreme weird behavior out of the people who are left.
Yeah. And you see this meltdown when it comes to peaceful protests at conventions and the way that Jehovah's Witnesses are behaving versus the way the peaceful apostate protesters behave. They receive a lot of hate and even violence towards them from Jehovah's Witnesses. And so it shows that it's a lie that they are peaceful people.
Loving.
Peaceful.
Well, I was thinking about it, like I can't imagine wishing bad things to happen to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
But I can definitely imagine them saying bad things to happen to people like us.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's so weird, is that we don't harbor hatred towards them. I mean, I've got good family that I love in the organization. I know that I was a member, so I know I was good-hearted when I was in it. So I know there's a lot of good people within it. So I don't wish anything bad to come to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they do wish bad things to happen to people like us. That's what's so weird about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We would help them. And the second these people came out, we would be the first to help them.
Right.
But it's not reciprocated. The only way it's reciprocated is if you go back on, and be reinstated and spend a year at the back of the Kingdom Hall, shunned like you're, even though none of us are doing anything wrong. That we're going to be shunned till the day we die. Yet we're living, I wouldn't call myself a Christian anymore, but I'm living a Christian life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not really sure what I believe, to be honest with you, in terms of the Bible. But I like to believe in Jesus, frankly. He's a wonderful person. If he existed, fantastic. But, I'm living a Christian life. There's nothing, in fact, probably more Christian than a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, I dare say, because I am not doing anything wrong. I have a good conscience. Yet I will be shunned until I go back to them. That's what's so weird about it.
Yeah. Well, this is why I appreciate all forms of activism, like we were talking about before. that, there's so many different forms of activism that in their own way are effective, even if they reach just a few people. Whether it's these, I don't really love the cart crashing, but if they get those witnesses to like think about something and pique their interest, that I need to maybe research something that they said, because it's like, gnawing at my subconscious, whether it's making videos, whether it's, using the law to pursue, getting criminal charges or, punitive charges, whatever it is, protests at these assemblies. I think these are very effective. Every form of activism is effective in its own way. And I'm glad that all of you activists are doing what you're doing. As long as you're not hurting someone or destroying property.
Or humiliating.
Exactly. I'm happy for all of it.
I think as long as it's honest-hearted. When you come across like you're trying to help and not trying to humiliate the person, not trying to make them feel like a, piece of useless garbage, like they make us feel.
Right.
When you're honest-hearted, it comes across.
Yeah, I think people pick up on that. I think it comes through because, there's such a variety of people out there to reach, or who maybe, I don't know, people who just feel stuck and they don't know where to turn, and who knows what's going to wake somebody up? Who knows?
Well,
and
they're
it's
all
like,
told. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, anything is a valid option. Any way of talking to somebody, to reach somebody, to wake somebody up is a valid option. I don't care if you like it or don't like it. It's gonna work for somebody. We're talking 8 million people. Something is gonna work for some percentage of those people. So for people to be on YouTube bitching and complaining about the way certain people make videos, or I don't like this, or this person's not good, or just get over it, man. Just get over it, because we need everybody's involvement. Everyone. And again, whether you like them or not, we need your involvement. We need everyone to be involved as much as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it gets to me. So sometimes I have to say it. I'm quiet, and then it's like, that's it. I have to say something. And yeah, it gets to me when I see that, because I think, you know what, the person that gets picked on is somebody who has helped a lot of people, and you may not like everything about this person, and that's fine. No one is saying. The one thing I like about being on our side,
we don't have to be vague.
Don't have to like everyone. We don't even have to like everyone.
Right.
And
I don't like everyone, but I'm glad they're doing their work.
Well, there's videos that I've seen from people that I like and from people that I don't necessarily jive with their style, but everyone that I've watched videos has at least made one video or raised one point that I was like, wow, that's a great point, or what a great video. And I may not be the hugest fan of yours, but I will watch your videos, and I want to support everybody who's out there doing the work. Now, I haven't been up with a lot of that stuff most recently, but there's still people who I watch all their videos. I watch John Cedar's videos. I watch Marcus Vaughn's videos. I watch Kim and Mikey. I watch Spoonfed No More. I watch a handful, like Fifth,
Neil.
when
Critical
Fifth comes out.
Yeah,
ex-JW
Critical Thinker.
Critical
I watch
Thinker.
Susan Gaskin.
The Great Apostate.
Watchtower.
Neil in Ireland. Like, everyone has made great points in their videos, and I don't care if you like their style or dislike their style. You cannot deny their effectiveness. And for people who don't like John Cedar, great, don't like them. If you don't like Mike and Kim, great, don't like them. But
don't get us to hate them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a hating kind of person. You know what I hate? I hate being told that I should be hating something.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Nobody out there has the power to make me want to do anything different than what I'm doing. So whatever people say, I don't care what people say.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm sure as adults we don't care. I've had enough of people telling me what to think in my life.
Thank you.
You know?
Yes.
So I just think everyone is important.
And they're using the hatred they have towards these people to shut down what they're doing. Like, these people are actually effective. And it's like, why not just, yes, I know you don't like the person, I get it, but you don't have to try to get all of us to hate this person. What is that going to solve?
And it detracts the energy away from the actual thing we're supposed to be trying to do here.
Yeah.
So you're
common enemy, or you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, the Watchtower loves this. I said it before.
Don't.
That's
Sorry.
okay. Watchtower loves it because it's
I
like,
think it was him. No, know it was
No,
me.
it was
I
her.
pounded on the table.
Stop pounding on the table! We need to get you your own table over here that you can pound at.
I need a gavel.
I was just playing rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to bring the little clip to hold my iPhone because I didn't think I was going to have to be recording with my iPhone. So anyway, but yeah, it's like everybody is doing the work, and if you don't like someone, you can just, I don't know, it's such a complicated situation.
Yeah,
it really is, because I understand, because I've listened to all sides of this, these little infighting, and I understand the points that everybody is making.
And they're valid points.
And they are valid points, but you don't tell us we have to dislike somebody or we can't, promote something that they've done because we find that it's good information and it's going to help people. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else do we have? Anything else?
I'm trying to think. I mean, there was the whole, the final video at the JW convention with all the guns and the. I mean, what the heck? They really got the persecution complex, and it's like it's not going to happen, right? Because I don't believe in Armageddon, but they're going to bring it on, right? They're going to just bring it. They're going to force you into that bunker, whether it happens or not. You're going in the bunker because this is what they believe is going to happen, and it's just so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There have been groups of people, especially in the 19th and 20th centuries, religious zealots who feel like they can bring Armageddon by causing these great disasters and doing things. I watched a documentary about it, I forget. There's people out there who are hell-bent on Armageddon, hell-bent on the end of the world. And the Jehovah's Witnesses, whether they realize it or not, they are a doomsday cult.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they don't get that. They don't realize that this whole belief in the end of the world and the death of everyone in civilized society, aside from people who worship Jehovah, they don't realize that is like a doomsday cult. And it's just, that type of thinking it colors your life. That type of having that kind of outlook on the world and the future of the world colors every decision you make in your life.
Mm-hmm. It's such a hatred for the world. When I do speak to Jehovah's Witnesses now, it's always that same thing. They're miserable, how bad the world is. Did you see the earthquake that happened there? And it's like, oh, please. I mean, you do realize that at one time people thought that when lightning struck the earth, God was angry at the earth, and so he used lightning. And I said that to this Jehovah's Witness. I go, why do you feel that every time there's an earthquake, I know where this conversation was going, and I was like, please,
Mm-hmm.
But they're hell-bent on bringing it about, like you said, Armageddon. Regardless of what's happening in the world, it's going to happen in their eyes.
Yeah, and actually they keep, one theme that the witnesses keep saying in the assemblies and the kingdom halls and meetings and stuff is that the world keeps getting worse. It keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like, I want to go look it up real quick on my phone. There's a guy who wrote a book not too long ago, and it's talking about where the world is at right now and where the world has been throughout all of history, and we're technically living in the best time ever. There's less murder. There's less warfare. Yeah, there's wars everywhere. The mortality rate is less. This is a whole book. I'm going to go look at it. I'm going to get the title. I got to say this guy's name so people know I'm not BSing. So the guy's name is, this book is called Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. And it's just a book about how the world has changed in the last century and that the world is better now than it's ever been. So for JWs who want to say the world's getting worse and worse, well, we just know about a lot more things now. But
think of a time in history that you would have rather lived in that was safer and
where you could die from a hangnail, where you get the flu and die, where like 60% of children born was like the mortality rate is crazy. Would you rather go to a hospital now or a hospital in some field battle in 1865 in the Civil War?
So,
I know, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. So I just wanted to bring out about the $66 million lawsuit that's happening in Canada. And they're still looking for victims. They do have quite a few, but if you know of anybody, please contact them. We'll put the contact information of the law firm that you should contact. And they actually have an application form. It takes 20 seconds really to fill it out and send it to them. But this is what I'm trying to get, and maybe we'll have to put the date at the bottom too. It's in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and it's in December. I don't have the date. I'm trying to find it, but the courts are going to be reviewing whether this can proceed. From what I understand, there's actually two different lawsuits, and they're trying to put them all together in one. There's one for Quebec, the province of Quebec, and then there's one for all of Canada, and for child sexual abuse that has happened.
That's the class action lawsuit,
the class
right?
action. And what they're trying to figure out, it could move faster in Quebec because it's a provincial as opposed to a national. So what they're trying to do is figure out if it can proceed, if the courts allow it to proceed. They're trying to amalgamate it into one jurisdiction. So we'll find out, and it's in December, and we're trying to get as many people as possible to come down to the courthouse in Montreal.
Wow. And
we will post the dates at the bottom of this video. I don't have it, for some reason I'm thinking the 8th and 9th, but I know it's 2 days. I think it's the 8th and 9th, but I'm not sure.
So lots of exciting things in the works, and it's I feel like you're never going to wake everybody up, and there's always going to be believing Jehovah's Witnesses, but more and more are leaving, and look at all of the Kingdom Hall closings.
I was just thinking that, and when you do see a Kingdom Hall, when people do crash Kingdom Halls, look at all the empty chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are halls that have been amalgamated.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this is two congregations together, and there's still only 45 people in the audience.
Yeah. Did you see Germany? Did you see all the halls that have closed in Germany?
Mm-mm.
Mike and Kim just posted that, just like last week. Somebody had given them all the different closings that have happened in Germany. It's crazy. It's like 175 or something.
Whoa.
Wow.
It's crazy. And if you think if each one had just 100 people, how many people?
It's not that
So
many.
it makes me wonder how many, like when you look at the statistics that JW.org posts, how accurate is it now? I'm beginning to wonder.
Well, that's why
I don't trust anything they say.
They stopped making yearbooks, and they only release numbers that they can show in a positive light.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There are no more statistics for JWs.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it anymore.
No.
It's gone
Mm-hmm.
because it's too negative.
Yeah.
And it would be disheartening for a publisher or
Yeah.
anybody to get a yearbook and go, 1 million people are gone?
Everything's red.
2 million
Negative,
people
negative,
are gone?
negative.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
You would have, that would be the Titanic hitting the iceberg. That would be it.
Well, because
People
for so
would-
long it was the theocracy is increasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hail the theocracy ever increasing. I'm not going to break into song here, but that was one of the songs we sang.
Yeah.
And there was proof, right? There was proof that Jehovah's blessing it. But can't they just use that scripture that says the love of the greater number will cool off? Can't they use that scripture? Wouldn't that?
But is
They
the
can
greater
use
number
any-
supposed to be the witnesses, though? Like, yeah,
I never did understand that scripture. Who did it apply to? The love of the greater number of what?
I don't know.
I never really understood.
But they'll use that. You can find scriptures to support anything you
Yeah.
want to believe.
Yes.
So,
So there's that.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, it's easy when you just take a half of a scripture out of context and just read a part of it and say, see, this is what that applies to, and they do that all the time, so.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, wow.
I think that's.
I think that's good. I think we've run one battery down. We've knocked over the iPhone about 5 times now.
We can do it again.
We've had
That's how it should
husbands and
end.
sons in and out needing to get snacks
In the bunker.
in the bunker.
Good thing we're stocked up with rations.
Yeah. Oh, but this has been great.
It's been great,
I
yes.
know. I wish we could do this more often with you.
Our annual meeting.
Our annual.
It's the ex-JW annual meeting.
Exactly. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Bye.
Oh, you're still in screen.